Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. We need to turn a couple bars from blank slates into John Deere bars. I wonder why. I got the bar stencils in the mail. Now technically I could have started prepping these things ahead of time, but I was down with the flu. So to hell with it, we're going to do it now. So let's take a look at what we've got first. This one here came with the 550 CS, and if this has been with it the whole time, I would say the previous owner wasn't nice to it. This thing actually looks like it's a smidge bent. Yeah, it is. I might be able to just do one of those and maybe a little bit in the vise. Yeah. The rails show signs of overheating. It's a black painted bar, but you see how there's just little micro pieces missing all the way along. This got hot. So I'm going to assume that the oiler holes were plugged, because those saws have pretty good oil output. This bar, I don't know where I got it from. Might have even come from Jim's. I don't really know. But this one's in much better shape. This one in terms of the rails, so I'm going to just grind them flat. And this one has already been cleaned up and is ready for paint. Darn, that really upsets me. But this one, in addition to needing ground and cleaned up, we need to drop a new tip on it because of that right there. Come on, baby. Focus. I hope it did. Pretty good damage up on the tip. Is it fatal? No. But if I'm going to spend my time to restore a bar, I'm not going to leave that. Now, there's two different Windsor style tips, and they are demonstrated very nicely on these two bars. You got your 3 rivet and your 5 rivet, okay? And they don't mix. The inset is twice as deep on this one. 1, 2, 3. Those center rivets are holding the tip together, not to the bar. This is a 5 rivet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 5 of those have got to be punched out to get the tip off. Okay? Now, if you don't have a tip on hand and you don't know that you can get it, I would advise don't punch these out. Wait until you have one sourced. They're getting harder to find. That's all I'm saying. So you don't want to ruin a bar. I know some people will reuse rivets once they've punched them out. The punch I use doesn't leave a lot of material left there. I wouldn't feel great about doing that. So, alright, so, again, this one has some burring on the edges. I've already made a few passes. I mean, normally, if you're filing an edge, you're filing in like this, but I also know that I'm just trying to knock the worst of the burrs off before we get over to the bar shop. I'm not trying to go for perfection here. And there's no point in going to the bar shop until we've got the tip off, because I can actually get a cleaner grind with the tip off and get everything nice and flat. Plus, we got to strip this old paint off too, and I am still not clear if the bench grinder wire wheel is going to be up to that task, or if I'm going to need to throw a cut brush on the angle grinder. Well, let's go ahead and get the tip off first, and we'll see where things go. Okay. Open this vise up wide enough that I know that I'll be able to set the rivet in a spot where they will punch. This isn't the most ideal to be using the chain rivet breaker, but it'll work. And when you go slow like that, what it's doing is mushrooming into the middle there. So I don't know if a person could actually reuse that or not. There might be enough material there, but I wouldn't feel good about it. So let's go ahead and get these things popped out. We'll get this tip out of the way, because it is going in the garbage can. The handle of this damn rivet spinner is just right in the way. And this is almost not deep enough for this center one. So we'll see how this goes. I may have to... I'd hate to think I'd have to drill that one out, but... Ooh, just barely. Okay, that wasn't ideal. And it did push that rivet pretty sideways. But I can deal with that. That one didn't come out either. Nice. Oh, shoot. Come on, baby. You know, when you're confined for space, you make placement decisions on equipment that come back to haunt you sometimes. There we go. And having all three of these this close together is far less than ideal. Okay, so you can see it's stuck, those last three. They're just kind of hanging out there. But we can get it from there. Okay, we'll knock those three the rest of the way out. I just wanted to close the vise a little bit for better support. Ooh, that one's playing nasty. Really? Well now, you want to be a pain in my neck. Wow. You're telling me I can't close the vise on a stupid rivet? Oh, yes, I can. What is that thing hung up on? That's funny. All right. Since we want to play. Huh. Well, that's kind of silly. That's really kind of silly. I can actually punch the center out of this stupid thing. There we go. There we go. Bye-bye, Mr. Rivet. There we go. Look at that. She came right apart. These can be difficult, especially the longer snout ones. If you have to, what you do is put your tip in the bar or in the vise, and then you can pull from the other side, put a bolt through the bar tail, tap it out. But that's pretty easy. I like that. So we're going to put that bar tip where it belongs, in the scrap metal can. And just in case you were wondering, yes, I do follow my own advice, and I have the new one sitting here. But we are not ready for that yet. Let's see what it's going to take to get this thing cleaned up in terms of paint. Here's the rest of that rivet. You can see it doesn't have a lot of wear in terms of depth going down. So, yeah, still a good candidate for what we're doing. Now, see, that is some hard paint. I don't think I'm even touching that stuff. Well, I am, but it's taking quite a bit of time. Yeah, not a lot of progress there. I'm going to explore some other alternatives for paint removal. I'm pretty sure this cup brush hasn't seen the light of day since, probably 22 or 23 years ago when I was prepping the various parts on the old Chevy for Pour 15. That's actually kind of scary. Get some PPE here. We'll see if this will make a dent in this paint. Truth be told, I don't know that that was any faster with the grinder, or with the angle grinder cup brush, than it would have been on the drill or bench press. It has some hard paint. But we got enough of the crap off that this is some discoloring. I don't know if that's heat treating on the bar or what, but that is not paint that's left. That's a good surface right there. Okay, let's go ahead and run these bars across the bar shop. So your first couple passes, whether you're doing it with a flat file in a vise and you're squared up perfectly, or you're doing it on something like this, your first pass or two are going to tell you an awful lot. Now we know that there's channels cut in here. I mean, I can see it. But what I don't know is if one rail is worn way down or not. Depending on how much it takes off of one side or the other on that first pass or two, that's going to kind of tell us an awful lot. So let's get started. And I'm assuming, yes, I can see the sound meter. Okay. My thumb side, it cut from tip to tail, index finger side, from about there all the way down, didn't even touch. So this bar didn't get flipped a whole lot, or somebody was consistently filing their chain harder one side to the other, or both. Okay. We got a little belly right there. Pretty good till there. That sounded a lot better. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Take one more good pass and see where we're at. Okay. Now I can still see some damage on the rails, but if I was going to grind all the way down past that, I'd be taking a lot of metal off. So we're not going to do that. Okay. I'm going to call that good enough, especially for what it's for, which is mostly a saw that's going to be on display. Let's see what the other side does. Same thing. It didn't even touch my index finger side, yet my thumb side, pretty good coverage other than a belly right here. So I'm going to assume that this was the top side of the bar, and the chain did a lot of damage right there. Okay. I am still taking nothing off of this side other than just a smidge down here at the tip, way down there. Okay. On index finger side, most of that hasn't been touched yet. Closing the gap. Still got a pretty good belly on that rail right through there. What the hell? Okay. Still got a spot right through here that hasn't quite flattened out. Closer. One dull spot. Man, that spot is persistent. Okay. Looks pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that one. Let's see what our other one with a good tip has to say. Haha. Same thing. About there all the way down to the tip, it hasn't touched yet. Filling in. There we go. I knew this one was not in as bad a shape. Let's see how the other side does. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. Can't complain about that. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do, in this case, is get that new tip in place, because you sure don't want to be pounding on a freshly painted bar trying to peen rivets over. That would be silly. So, let's make sure she fits. I think the end is a little smooshed. There we go. Look at that. And they line up. And you do want to make sure you got your pitch correct. This is 375 Windsor. So, an awful lot of these kits, you see them on eBay, and they don't have the rivets with them. Okay, make certain you're getting the rivets. Not that you can't source them, but it's not as simple as going down to Home Depot or Ace Hardware. You're going to end up going to a fastener supply place. And depending on where you live, that may not be convenient or easy. So I'm going to use the back portion of my vise as my beaten surface here, but as is typical, There's too much shit on my workbench, in my way, pissing me off, probably blocking your camera view. You guys can sort of see that. But the problem is getting those rivets to go in and stay in. It's really annoying. You go to flip it over and they fall out. So we're going to be smarter than the average dipsticks. At least that's what I'm telling myself right now. I'm going to set all 5 in place. And grab the old masking tape. And as long as there's not too many greasy, oily fingerprints on here. There we go. Now, hearing protection. Those will do. Those will do just fine. Alright, this is the point where you want to start treating it like a paint project and actually care to get it clean. You'll go through some brake clean doing this, but I have yet to find anything that preps better than this for the speed. I'm sure somebody out there could find half a dozen things that prep it better. But even if it isn't a hot day, you're going to get, where's my other, there's the stiff wire. You're going to get it dried pretty quickly. And if you're impatient like me, that matters. Okay. Now we let them drip dry. It's tempting to speed it up with an air hose, but if you got any moisture in your tank, you're not helping. So no bar paint is going to last all that terribly long if you're using the saw repeatedly, so I'm going basic. I'm going to use just a light coat of Krylon primer. I've got some Krylon black that'll go on here. I want the good adhesion because when we put the bar stencil on to paint the lettering in, I don't want it to be peeling paint off. But that also means that we're going to have to let this dry an appropriate amount of time. Now, if I hadn't let enough time go by when I had the brake cleaner on there, I'd already know it, because this paint would have already bubbled and looked like crap. Well, primer, technically, but you know what I mean. Okay. I'm not looking for a surface that I can sand down and take all the imperfections out. We'll call these 10-footers. They'll be better than that, but I'll call it that. Okay. Nice. Okay. Gotta let it dry. Paint dries faster on camera than it does in real life. I don't know how that works. Okay, that looks like it's going on fairly well. Let that tack for just a second. I'm using a semi-gloss, even though a lot of these bars probably would have been closer to a flat. A flat is harder to get the stencils onto and get it to seal up, in my experience. And it's going to show wear quicker, in my experience. I'm just going to light coat the hell out of this until I am happy with it. I ought to take the time to spin this around. I'm on the dark side. Okay. I am good with that. Wonder if I can do this without making a mess. Whew. Glad I did. Because I can see some holidays. That is good enough for who it's for. Oh, why did that have to be there? Hung that over by my wife's decorative. Where's that pillar? Tell me you guys can't see it? Yes, you can't. Right there. It's now yard art. See how long I get away with that. But it's out of my way. Okay, number 2. Okay. Don't need you swaying around like you're in a freaking hurricane, dude. Okay. It's almost on cue when I have a painting project. Even if it's just a pissant breeze like what we have right now, it's going to come up and screw with me when I'm trying to paint. Maybe it's Krylon. They got weather control so they can sell more paint. Probably not. There we go. Got all the major crevices and angles covered with the first couple dust coats. And once I was certain that it was going to seal in, that nice top coat, just bam. I love it. I want to be clear, I'm not pretending to be a paint specialist. Because I are not. But I know a few tricks that have worked for me on these old chainsaws and the restorations and stuff like this. So, if you're a paint guy and you're a purist and you're looking at something I'm doing that's terrible, be gentle in the comments, please. Okay. Fast forward will still work on video, but not for me. These are going to have to dry for a while. In fact, apply additional coats within 1 hour or after 24. Well, guess what? It's going to be after 24 because I am not putting stickers, and that's what those stencils are, on paint that I can peel. And 1 hour isn't going to be enough to put on there. So, we'll do our lettering on another day.